T.I.'s son, King Harris, has been arrested after not appearing in court and some other things connected.
I'm trying to coddle him for. Let the man walk off, have some time to himself, sit down, soak it up, and come up with what he need to do.
Yeah, so him being arrested isn't really like the shocker. It's him coming out and his, I guess, reaction to it, right? Because everybody's saying, King, you grew up privileged, bro. Why are you going down this path? Now he's talking about F the police, F12. So, you know, it just,
Nothing is being spoken on the streets, other than the Harris families at the moment. Furthermore, this time it's not about gaudy chains or Instagram lives that become viral. The goal is to survive in the coldest anywhere. You can imagine, Harris King, the son of the legendary rapper T.I. and Tiny U, is resting in critical treatment following a brutal jail onslaught that has locked down the entire globine. The reports that are leaking seem more akin to a prison drama gangland thriller that is reminiscent of. Insiders claim that King was leaped into his block with such ferocity that he had to be pulled away by guards. Due to the pandemonium, ingested the tear. His body hardly moved, his face bloated, shifting, with the entire prison exploding in a fight that left several prisoners beaten and bruised. It wasn't an arbitrary altercation.
So the deal
this is
involves
previously
Tiny and
stated
T.I.
in
turning
whispers
themselves
that was a
in
planned
and admitting
strike,
to the crime
and
that
the
they've committed.
exponential span
Then
could
fine,
be more
we got a deal.
repulsive than anyone, that idea. The
But if it does
conversation
not,
within those Georgia, the
then
walls of the
I would
prison
prefer
seemed
to
eerie.
have
This wasn't
the
triggering a trivial
investigators do
dispute
their
or
work
regular
and to
examination.
bring criminal
It
charges
was an
against Tiny
intentional
and
ambush,
T.I.
intended to dismantle him. A few prisoners claimed to have set him up weeks beforehand, intending to make fun of him for what they perceived as his continual display of wealth as well as privilege. Others assert that it was intended to as a harsh reminder that when incarcerated, your Instagram, your last name respect is not bought by follows. You are only kept by your tenacity and loyalty. Breathing, you become prey when you're weak. One the ex-inmate clarified. And at this moment, King is having the most difficulty learning the lesson. In the most practical manner. Upon hearing the news, internet usage took off like wildfire. You name it. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Each platform was illuminated with. There are some who are truly shocked and offering up prayers for the young man. Others making fun of him by uttering phrases like, King encountered the actual world at last and was unable to manage it. That gap on the internetly increased the strain on the Harris family, who, according to insiders, are full upon T.I. has allegedly not slept since the assault, contacting lawyers, lawmakers, as well as anyone with even a little portion of pull within the Georgia Corrections Department. Just one Atlanta the source even asserted that T.I. is prepared to make promises, cut checks, or sign NDAs, if rescuing King is the goal before another blow hits. In the meantime, it is said that Tiny is ensnared in her own conflict at room, the point of contact for publicists, attorneys, media allies, but even their renownedly strong cohesiveness is disintegrating beneath the strain. Insiders murmur their private disputes, everyone accusing each other for their son's descent into this nightmare. Friendly close, friends are unsure.
Can't judge how the parenting is gone, because everything that we've seen has been stuff that many of us would have said or similar if we saw our children do this. But I will say this. A lot of what's happening is because it's in the public. Like most children don't have to do this in the public.
If they're battling to keep King Olivier, simply battling one another. In any case, the lives of their son is at stake, while the basis of their union becomes trembling. The unflappable Harris dynasty appears to be disintegrating beneath. The stakes aren't as high this time, regarding family pride or TV ratings. It's concerning life and death. What's creating the rumors make everything much more murky. Flying to the left and right, a few murmurs asserted that King was implicated in a failed illegal transaction going awry, that he either declined to play ball or made an effort to finesse the wrong crew. Within the prison, a broken promise and money are what loyalty is, can quickly get you marked. Insiders were tied. King even made a claim to the investigation. Was drawn to a certain area of Theppersense, where he was jumped by 3 men, while wait for the monitoring expectedly. The cameras stopped working. According to the Department of Corrections, there was no glitch. However, no one is purchasing such justification. As one of the old roads of T.I. In the words of managers, it's Georgia. Cameras malfunction when they should, and now, as long as King's health and stable familial conflicts are thoder than before. Supporters haven't forgotten how awful things already appeared for months, then such as that notorious Falcons game event in which T.I. King was placed in a Instagram live headlock after another heated dispute regarding his childhood. The world witnessed T.I. yelling, You are humiliating your family and yourself as Dina attempted to enter. As security hurried in, bringing things under control. In those days, people believed that to be King Harris's lowest point. Moment. However, this ambush within the price and just how much lower things can go. Presently, with King in a hospital, struggling for his life bed in the private space of the Harris familia mayhem, erupting on the internet, it was only the dress at the Falcons game. Practice for an even more repulsive chapter to exacerbate the situation.
I graduated. That's the only good thing they posted of me going viral. I'm not on the media's good side. I don't know why, but it ain't.
According to prison insiders, King was singled out for more than simply his identity. He endured constant taunts over his notorious scandals involving parents, particularly those who continued to engage in trafficking cognizance pertaining to T.I. as well as Little. Though the family denied everything, those rumors never really vanished. Additionally, inside that kind of rumor turns into ammunition in prison. It is said that King fueled everything himself, showing off on social media, even after bars, attempting to expose competitors and hype himself as the next big thing in Atlanta. Older prisoners, however, weren't impressed. The former prisoner informed us directly, "What is regard your father's identity? If you do not settle your debt or you run the ruler's mouth, you get handled. Within. King is currently making that payment. Cost in human life. In the interim, T.I. is tugging the remaining strings he has. According to sources, he has even threatened to make prison public. Circumstances both in public and private list stapling. Stories from reputable media outlets to shift the focus of the blame from King to a system that is corrupt.
And you can, you know what I'm saying, kind of woo-saw yourself outside of the public opinion.
It's a textbook. Celebrity crisis drama. However, with the threats are still present and the clock is ticking, people are asking one question in the air. Eerie query. Is it too late to preserve him? Furthermore, this goes deeper than that. Precisely what occurs when you Raycedo makes someone feel invincible just for truth to swing back more forcefully than anyone else ever anticipated. While the murmurs continue, initially, the scheme centered on King Harris' ambush is growing more and more ominous. This was more than a simple beating. The term "Innistat King" in those jail corridors perhaps offended the wrong individuals in Afram, which you are unable to return. Several insiders suggest that there was illegal activity, agreements circulating, and King or attempted to retreat or made a cunning move that angered the powerful people behind those walls. In an environment where every action is that kind of treachery is similar to survival, signing your own death sentence, one unsettling information being muttered apparently, his name appeared in a legal ledger connected to a debt. Additionally, broken promises and price are repaid with blood. However, the rabbit due to the fact that individuals aren't merely discussing illegal activity, they are claiming the last name of King is a curse within that system. The Harris householders consistently garnered interest, but this is poisonous at times. Those former traffickers' claims pertaining to T.I. as well as Tinya never truly diminished, and King apparently was unable to avoid the shadow off. He was ridiculed by other prisoners, who called softly, he said. The same scandals. Has painted a picture of what tormented his parents.
I really admire his dedication and commitment to the craft, because, you know, I kind of told him, you know, what was wrong about it.
Making mistakes. I ain't had no daddy who would pull up and get on my ass and tell things I did, you can't get away with.
I know that.
Man, damn. Yeah, that's I ain't see that one coming. You
Really?
know what I mean? Nah, I didn't.
Aim at him. Include that in his repute for being noisy, ostentatious, and behaving as though he was the yard star, as animosity grew like dynamite, simply awaiting a spark. For a few of Theog's inmates, it wasn't a it served as a metaphor. One correctional officer even acknowledged the chronicle of prominent prisoners like King turned into pieces in another person's struggle for dominance. When a famous person takes, he is more than simply another prisoner on the inside. He is a message, a negotiating chip, and a method by which gangs demonstrate their power. Yormov, the well-known one, you send a message for all others, a former convict from Georgia, clarified. Additionally, that's precisely what could have occurred in this case. In the interim, T.I. and Tiny's connection is trembling under this storm's force. In private, sources claim their conflicts are erratic, with Tiny pointing fingers at the system and outside whereas T.I. demands discipline and the only way out is through connections. Tiny desires a more delicate method, such as painting their son as a casualty of a legal system. However, T.I. is going all out on politics, force, and powerful phone conversations. This gap isn't unlimiting stress on their marriage. It's making Harris's whole brand under a microscope. One source close to the couple utterly declared, "This is worse. Worse than the litigation. The worst repercussion from reality TIV they've encountered." Additionally, the more scramble, the more chaotic it becomes. Friends are unsure about going public, either benefits or harms. Some cautioned that carrying the criminal justice system through the mud will simply increase King's vulnerability? Others claim that silence is equivalent to Harris' name and surrender are incompatible. You can afford to appear weak. Each and every leak, each anonymous source, each rumor from AA prison guard feeds a fire with gasoline. It is already dominating social media. Media fans are making connections between previous scandals, litigation that have come up again, and this ambush is presently depicting a scene that possibly more repulsive than the family ever thought of, not to be forgotten. This is hardly King's first encounter with people continue to recall his social media teasing, criticizing competitors, flaunting piles of money, and claiming to be Atlanta's next wild card. From the outside, that Wazimu's. However, within the prison, that energy made him a target right away. According to reports, other prisoners chuckled, claiming that he was acting behind his bacas, a gangster, when everyone was aware that hedgerows and opulence, surrounded by security and cameras, he wasn't too thema danger. He was a sight to behold and ultimately a liability. Mental prison warfare is equally lethal, as strikes to the body. Every rumor, each muttered caution turns into the beginning of another ambush. Additionally, King Harris's affluent background was widely known. He emerged as the ideal target for resentment punching. Reality TV, private schools, access to attorneys and bodyguards most teammates are unable to dream. Those particulars make him a glowing target to be seen. Because of it, other prisoners detested him. Others felt offended by his attempt to play rough, and some people just thought he was a piece in the game of chess they play. Either King's fame was used against him. His notoriety turned into a weapon, yet into his demise. Externally, the Harris family's business is beginning to shudder beneath the strain of this mayhem. They're pulling the other children in death conjecture, having to go through a maze of untidy paternity gossip and brought back disagreements that were believed to have been buried many years ago. The distinction between personal heartache and there is no longer any public scandal. Everything leaking into the family, and the OP no longer has control over the story. The same spotlight that originally constructed there now. The brand is destroying it. Additionally, the emotional cost is terrible. This isn't regarding the cancellation of a TV program or a sloppy or humiliating viral video. This concerns the life of their son, and the legacy of the family. Each headline exacerbates the situation. Each rumor of betrayal creates an additional level of risk, and every public declaration seems to another risky gamble that can go wrong. The Harris family has always prospered because took tension. But that attention at the moment resembles poison trickling onto the harsh reality of this situation, though the legal system is not amenable to celebrity. It makes no difference how many records did your dad sell. TV seasons in which your family starred, fame doesn't make you a person behind jail. Indestructible. It exposes you more, it turns you into a negotiating chip. A spectacle. A ready-made headline. Additionally, it's turning a last name into a liability ending his life. The jail ambush wasn't a single assault. It could be the first chapter of a story, darker than anyone thinks. Till now people want to know if King Harris is silently bearing the cost of conceit, or if a more complex conspiracy is involved. An unsuccessful transaction, adversaries, scheming tough darkness, as well as a system that is already neglected to give him a chance to mature. Additionally, while the Harris family battles to pull ropes in order to preserve their heritage, the question that plagues everyone is straightforward, but lethal. Is King merely another victim of reality colliding with fame, or is he a chain's first domino? Response that can cause the lid to blow off things that the family has been attempting to conceal for years. As soon as King Harris behind those walls of concrete, the countdown began. And it feels like since then, every action has been accumulating to this vicious conclusion. What is evident is that he wasn't attacked only because he himself, for everything, he was attacked he stands for. The name Harris, the controversies, the ostentatious way of life, the baggage from reality TV, it was all painted using him as a spark for envy and bitterness. Correctional officer Sacknold off the record that prisoner stunt just strolled into prison. King they enter a tempest. The moment he went into that yard, he was used as a pawn in conflicts that weren't related to Jim individually, but all of it has to do with authority, self-esteem, and standing. Additionally, when competitors wished to communicate with him, to the world and the other prisoners, King was the ideal target as he watched. According to insiders, this spun out of control, beyond control. A single source that had spent time in the Georgia system best described it. As soon as someone when the headlines arrive, the Sharks they wish to test and break him, or make use of him for points. That's what King had to deal with. Sounds of a legal transaction gone wrong. Ridicule over his affluent background and insults connected to the legal issues facing his parents. From day one, he was swimming with sharks. Additionally, when the cameras inexplicably went felt less dark during his onslaught, more akin to a setup than a combat. O-Trap opened at the ideal time, left him unconscious, covered in blood, and in need of medical assistance. However, the fist swearing, the sole equipment, that psychological harm could even be more deadly. According to prison insiders, King was repeatedly advised to lower it. to give up flexing and acting the part, a famous mobster, yet he didn't pay attention. His efforts to stand on business just made him appear more vulnerable to Man, who had mastered the code for years of surviving. Respect cannot be purchased. It's gained, remarked one former prisoner. Additionally, that blood has always been used to write rules within their walls. Additionally, King is not following such guidelines. He was constantly doomed to be handled externally. The fallout is the Harris Empire is being shaken like never before. Previously, attorneys are putting in extra hours, attempting to rewrite the narrative, pushing empathic stories, and nourishmentable media sources that make excuses, according to several insiders. T.I. is getting ready to provide shocking details concerning jail corruption, making threats to reveal the system if his son is not shielded. According to some, Tiny is silently pleading with allies to portray King asked, victim of a vicious machine rather than a careless child who overplayed his hand. However, regardless of the approach they choose, one fact is unavoidable for the family, though the entire world is observing, and each headline makes them appear less strong. Worse yet, though the remaining Harris children are being pulled into the tempest, old tales regarding family conflicts, difficult paternity inquiries, and previous controversies are all coming to light again. Social media feeds are crowded with making connections between all that the family has endured and this most recent crises. What ought to have a private nightmare has turned into a public one. They're being torn apart by the circus, piece by piece. Friends near thee, the emotional toll is worse. According to family. Greater than anything they have ever experienced, worse than TV, worse than lawsuits cancellations, which are even worse than Falcons football headlock that went viral. This is no longer about amusement. It concerns inheritance, perseverance, and the family name. Zooming out, the situation with King is revealing the harsh reality that celebrities there is no weight behind privilege. Bars. Notoriety doesn't protect you, it draws attention to you. Money isn't always able to keep you safe. Occasionally, it portrays you as family ties also don't change. A system of justice based on brutal codes and unspoken guidelines. Harris King's being well known wasn't a defense. It was the exact tool that was employed against him. Had turned into the pawn, the prize, the negotiating chip. Additionally, his blood on the message rivals were the prison floor, wanted to be seen by everyone. And that's what makes this tale far more expansive than one aside. This goes beyond King alone. In a hospital bed, struggling for his life. It's about the following step. Each and every, according to an insider. This ambush felt like exactly its start. Will King, if he survives, be able to endure the upcoming setup while waiting in the dark? Will these powerful relationships provide him with a lifeline, or simply attract more adversaries who perceive him as privileged and shielded? Will Tiny Stu's a gentler, protective approach work? Or will King is simply made to appear weaker in thighs of men who follow a set of rules and power? These queries linger. Storm clouds are like the Harris family, all set to explode. According to some, some claim it's a conspiracy. Additionally, few even hint at its fate, the unveiling of a constructed family itself on fame, fortune, and drama. Regardless of the reality, one thing is King Harris's current expression of a harsh reality check. A note that there are no televisions in prison, tweaks, no security, and no Instagram filter steams prepared to rescue you. It's a matter of survival. Of the most fit, and each misstep has a cost. Thus, here we are observing in near slow motion, as though the most difficult challenge for the Harris dynasty yet. King's strike isn't only disturbing their family, it's trembling through whole culture, compelling admirers, detractors, and experts to inquire. Is this the destruction of a legacy, or the beginning of a redemption narrative that nobody anticipated? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Did King suffer because of his circumstances? Or did he's a target because of his own decisions? Could this ambush serve as the prelude to something even more sinister? Awaiting secret stow leaks, something that would break the Harris Empire forever. Put your thoughts aside below, and remember to share, subscribe, to ensure that you don't miss the following chapter in this crazy tale.